assume you go back to 1998 when you were starting the institute, what would you do differently this time? Two questions.
Difficult questions. First question is easy, second question is more difficult. First question, which period of your life would go back to? All my life has been a happy life. So I can go back to any period and feel happy. How, if IIIT Hyderabad was starting, how would it be done differently? Several things would have been different. The research part would be there, but some other elements about service will be built into the institution much more strongly. We were in a hurry to build the institution. We didn't think deep enough, didn't have a good understanding enough either. So those things would be little different, and but we can reach there anyway.
We don't understand the strengths of Indian society. So what according to you is the strength of Indian society?
Family, relationship. So because of the, if you look at the West, what has happened, they have broken their family. So they have tried to build a very orderly society, and that orderly society went in a direction in which human to human relationship is undermined. Various things were done to make things orderly, including the role of money, including the kind of institutions that were built. The relationships got undermined. They got so much undermined that the family split. Many ways. So husband-wife split, and now children and parents are also splitting. So Indian society hasn't lost that. It has relationships. So that is the strength on which we have to build. But we know enough about weaknesses and problems, but this is our strength. So we have to handle the weaknesses while building on the strength. If we try to copy the West, we will destroy our relationships. And if relationships and family is destroyed, very difficult to build it back. So West will find it very difficult to build that back.
Sir, actually, see, when you talked about culture and you mentioned experimentation, right? I will absolutely agree and defer to you when you say Socrates is highly experimental. But it happens at the expense of legacy. It is very, very difficult to have sustainable anything. Now we used to try DBS in my first year. That did not last for another year. We tried that every time programming club, none of these last. All every time something is, I'm cutting short, I'll just be very, very precise. Nothing lasts here. So experimentation is absolutely there. I will not dispute that. Nothing. Things are very, very easily started. The faculty give us a great deal.
So the reason, yeah. So let me answer this. I do not believe that it is because of experimentation that we are having that problem. And partly that problem to some extent has been solved, but we have not built in enough of service elements or bonding elements, bonding and service. So activities which bring people together, things that we do so that we help ourselves or we help others. If those things could be built in, then we will not have this problem. Of course, electronic media has come in a big way. Movies, laptops, using laptops, movies, social media, internet, browsing, etc., etc. So a way to counter that would be have these other elements built into our life. So that is the reason. When you do things together, when you carry out an activity together, that builds bonds. Yes, so once you have that activity which is structured well, then different batches will work together in different activities. So we need to do that.
new students coming up, new atmosphere building, I would say. Some new issues have are being, are coming up as we have seen over the past 1 to 2 semesters. So how confident are you that as the status of IIIT is, it can go on like this? And if not, then what sort of efforts should be taken at an institute level or from the student side so that the relationships and the bonding doesn't go?
So, one is the issue of structures, regulations, rules, etc. So, we had a discussion on this in a faculty retreat about 2 years ago, little less than 2 years ago. There this issue had come up, should we have rules? Okay, no rules, not rigid rules, but have guidelines. The answer actually was have a process and not the rules. So what is the process? Process is, if we find that some issue comes up, how do we work out that issue? How do we take decisions regarding that issue? So that is done through a process, and that process should specify, okay, there is a committee here which will look at it. So suppose someone says there should be a new course introduced, what would happen? So there should be a committee which will look at it and have whatever is required in terms of discussions with others, and then take a decision. That decision may take it to another committee. So have a process but not rules. Guidelines, people were ambivalent, they said guidelines tend to become rules very soon. So process is what we would want. If the processes start running well, things will run well. The difficulty we are having is everybody is so short of time. So for a process to run, it does require time. A rule could have been applied by somebody who doesn't need to understand anything, he will mechanically apply the rule. Doesn't take much time. But process requires more time, and people don't have enough time. So that is what the difficulty I am referring to. So if we had these other components, service component, other activities we work together, we will give importance to these other parts. But I am confident the institution will build these, and student participation in decision making would help. I think we are, it's overdue, but the students have to devote time also. Yeah.
Sir, my question is that the amount of indifference which we see in IIIT student community as compared to other colleges is much more. Say if we want to build a consensus, or say if we want to sensitize people, or even if we want to gather IIITians for a certain cause or anything, it's very tough because people are right now, you can say, so much preoccupied with their own lives, and they don't. The feeling of it seems as if the students are indifferent to the problems of others or to the other the social events which are happening. So how do you plan to, do you see this happening in the college?
No, this is a problem I think you have to address. I may not have any magic solutions. I know that if there is a problem, there is a crisis, everyone rises to it, up to it, handling it. When there is no crisis, then that's the time we have to find out, people still have to take out time, because once we do that, then there will be no crisis. We will handle things just in time, much before time, whole thing will function much more smoothly. So this is a question I am posing to you. I don't have an, I may have thoughts, but I don't have an answer. Yeah.
This is talk of student empowerment. How much progress IIIT has made in student empowerment? As in, if you see first batch of IIIT and the current students, so how much empowered are they? And in comparison to friends, those who are interested in the world.
No, I've seen only parts of the world. in our processes there is fair amount of flexibility. So if some issues come up, then students can go and convince the relevant people, they are listened to. So in that sense, at a various individual levels or small group levels there is empowerment. Larger level, student participation would help in decision making. So I think that would also build in more empowerment. But there is this other side to it, which is what worries people. This is what I refer to as peer pressure, and in particular placement. Why is there so much anxiety about placement? Now that is now going down to be able to get placement in the 4th year, we should start doing an internship in the 3rd year, or start even earlier if possible. Now that completely distorts the thinking. It distorts the whatever plans are made, the way the system is designed. So people feel that if empowerment comes without the other part, responsibility and understanding, then it will not work well. This is the feeling. So you have to somehow show that no, that is not so, and students will act responsibly. But on the other hand, have a debate, have a discussion internally.
Sir, I have two questions. You mentioned that there is a design that gets disturbed when students go for internships. I want to understand what that is, and what is it that the faculty has in mind for us that we should do during the summers here in college, and we don't do when we go out. The second question is, I think there are a lot of students who might want to do things, bring about a little bit of change in IIIT and its workings, but not many are aware about how to approach the faculty or how to go about doing this, especially when they need help from the faculty. So if you could give a small, a workflow or some steps that we could take, what would be the best way? Because everyone is busy, the faculty is also busy.
So the design is that it's a research institution. So if you have a research institution, then research is something you can't say that you do this, so write so many lines of code or do this which is measurable on a weekly basis or even a monthly basis. Research basically thrives on self-motivation. Problem is given, no one knows the answer in the world, and you are working at it. You can come back after a week and say, no, I didn't find the answer, after having thought about it or having not thought about it. So research by its very definition or by its very nature is to be done through self-motivation. Now when these external factors come in, this self-motivation part goes down, and then the entire research collapses, if you ask me. The student participation in research will collapse. So the research gets done during semester as well as other times. Now during semester there are pressure of coursework, and of course there are many other events that take place, social events that take place. Out of that students still have time, but then the time also goes in social media and electronic engagement. So as a result, the intensity with which work needs to be done in research goes down. Why? Because other things get done anyway. Courses still have home assignments, Felicity still has deadlines and quantified work to be done. Anything, other things also have. Research is an area which doesn't have very definite deadlines and quantified outputs as intermediate goals. So as a result, that is the part that gets dropped. So that is the difficulty. What was your second question? About what? About any issue? I think we should have a process. We have a administrative structure, process document, and so there are committees for various things. So suppose you wanted some book to be bought in the library, should be able to fill a form or talk to a faculty, say please such and such book should be bought for the library. Have any one of you asked for some book to be bought in the library? Good, do that. So when you find that there are books that library should get, you approach the library committee, that's what I would say. If you look at our administrative structure document, there is a library committee which decides what books or journals will be bought for the library. So similarly, whether it's a academic curriculum issue, there is a course issue, if it's a cultural issue or sports, so everywhere there are these committees and faculty members, and you approach. So that comes out from the nature of the issue. And when policy decisions are needed, that is the point where there should be student involvement also. So that is what I feel, and that should happen through committees.
So as you mentioned, our college was founded with a goal of being a research university, and as you said that research needs self-motivation, and there are a lot of things in our college to promote research. But my point is that not everyone who comes here comes with an intention of doing research. So there are a lot of things that are in our college, like telling them, the students, to do research during the summers, and like the curriculum in a whole is more leans to more towards creating 100 good computer scientists than creating 50 good computer scientists and enabling the other 50 to do excel in whatever they want. This is something I feel. My question would be, how would you yourself have felt, according to you, if you would have grown up in this environment and your friend circle, your colleagues at IIT Kanpur during your time would have grown up in this era at this place?
If I look back, some of us got so involved with the social issues, we had no time to read, no time to devote proper time to courses. That was true. But actually we were doing quite well. Academically, faculty never had any complaints from these students who were most vociferous or who were spending time elsewhere. So that basic responsibility has to be fulfilled. So that is one thing we learned. And if a student comes here, says I not interested in research, then he or she is at the wrong institution. So one should, in that case, give it a try, because every place has its goal and dynamics, and that goal needs to be fulfilled, has to be honestly attempted. And at that point, if an honest attempt is made and the student still doesn't says I'm more interested in building very routine but very good, well engineered systems, the institution will slowly find space for such people also. But when the honest effort is not being put in, then people start having doubts.
My question would be something which has connected to the previous question, and also with respect to a point which you mentioned about peer pressure. You just mentioned that there is an honest effort required from the student toward even though one may not be, say, research oriented, say, interested in research, but possibly can spend some time to see what it is, if that is certain minimum requirement that you expect. Now, if suppose you have a fast-moving world where, say, the possibility of patience itself is challenged, and research necessarily requires patience, what is that caring that can possibly bring about the possibility for patients?
My own feeling is that patience is required for any sustained work, whether one is doing research or one is doing good engineering or one is doing social work. Each one of them requires patience. How do we inculcate patience? Finally, I think it has to be done through people working together on something which excites them, which makes them happy, and the completion of that work, which requires many people to work together, sometimes that gives confidence to people that if I am patient, yes, things will work out fine. So some successes are needed, and we need to create many smaller projects, many smaller activities where people experience that. In a way, Felicity, for example, how much patience is needed to have such a large function run properly, and how much of work people do which would otherwise be called very boring, but they do it because they want that festival to take place well. So patience also comes from when you connect with the goal. And of course there are now distractions to patience, and we have plenty of them through electronic gadgets which tend to reduce our attention span. So if the student community says, all right, from every day from 5 to 7 or 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, we will not touch any electronic gadget. Okay. For other than telephone calls, we will not use for movies, for browsing internet, for social media, we will not use any of this every day for 4 hours, 4 to 8. We will have a different world here. You have to collectively decide that. Sort of build a movement, and the time that will free up, you will work, you will have activities you do together, that will build patience, bonding. So if IIIT were to be in 98, as someone had asked, this is the element which would go in IIIT. Not all students are forced, only honors and dual degree, because they are doing a more extended research. Those in the 4-year program are also in a research institution, of course, and I was told there is one student in 5 years, he has done 41 projects or term papers. There was a count, 41. So that is, I don't know the details of it, but that is the opportunity. So somebody who is in a 4-year program is also in a research environment, and that condition is not there on him or her for the summer. But for others, how do you build groups, how do you have system building? This is the problem. Ideally, there are other solutions on which we are also working, where besides purely research projects, there could also be engineering projects, what is called as real good engineering. Because as people say today, there are no engineers today. There are only technologists or researchers. So there are no engineers. If there are no engineers, how will we build good systems? Whether it's a bridge or a good computer system or a good operating system or a whatever. So if there is activity which we can bring here in the institution of good engineering, designing products right from beginning to end, and then let's say 100 students are involved, 200 students are involved, that would open up an opportunity. So if other fronts we are also working on, if those come, start, then lot more opportunities will become available.
So a major part of my question was that had you been an undergrad today at IIIT, how would your academic and career choice be today if you would have been an undergrad today?
I don't know how to answer it. I can only tell you from my experience at that time, and at that time, yes, I considered very seriously taking up social option, not be a engineer or a faculty member. Then finally I chose that path. So if you ask me how would I be if I am here today, I'll do the same thing perhaps. Maybe I'll choose a social option today, I don't know. So I can't answer this question because how do I imagine myself, but very clearly the amount of options which are available today are lot more. In my time there were very few set options, and they were set options, very few options, they were all set options. You could do either industry job or you could join academics. Academics, very few jobs. Industry, very few jobs. Today, in both those areas there is an explosion. In industry, many more jobs than they can find good people. In academia is starving today. Place where I am going, IIT BHU, 60% of their faculty seats are lying vacant. They have 550 positions, 250 are filled. And you go to any new IIT except IIT Hyderabad and IIT Gandhinagar. All the new IITs are running at 60% faculty strength. The 5 older IITs, they are probably with 60 or 70% faculty. So everywhere there is a huge shortage. So if I was here, I would be here, and if I had the same mindset, if I was the same person, then of course I will go for teaching. I decided to go for teaching at that time. Yeah.
Don't you think like a very narrow environment like IIIT-H cannot expect people to be socially adept, and I mean you cannot expect things to come up so relevant socially. Like it's very much unlike a university. Like there's some more exposure of things, and here I think somewhat we are comparatively not so adept. So that is why I think, I mean, as per what you mentioned, like people are losing jobs, among other things. So we need some benchmark, we need something set already when we come to this institute as a very young student at 17 or 18.
Yeah, so one thing that is starting now is social internships. I think in the last couple of years, many of our or some of our students have gone for internship, and that has inspired many people. So more social internships can start, and whether it's a small, not a university with everything, and therefore universities will have, we can keep debating that, but the variety we have, we still have a good variety, very good variety, both in terms of engineering, science, humanities, and very passionate people in each one of them. So the environment is very invigorating. It's a matter of for somebody to get invigorated.
Earlier you were talking about that first we had political freedom, then we have economic freedom, and now it's time for mental freedom. Do you believe that in IIT is the position that we have economic freedom? If yes, if no, like if we don't have much economic freedom right now, can you believe, like, because mental freedom comes post economic freedom, and if we don't have mental freedom, do do we think that students will have patience enough to do research? Can you build a research kind of environment here?
No, I think one should always see the larger picture. So if you ask me, yes, IIIT Hyderabad has economic freedom. Right? We are not asking, we are not dependent on government or other sources for money. But when I am talking of economic freedom, I am talking about one's life and the entire society as such, not a small part of the society. So if the student feels after coming here or even before coming here that economics is taken care of, I don't have to worry, then one will say, okay, now what is it that I want to do? And that freedom will allow a greater exploration, and that exploration will lead to taking paths which will take India to mental freedom. Mental freedom will not come in one day. But if people start taking both paths, and paths which are satisfying to them, I am not saying do sacrifices, but be open to other paths and take paths which are not always set paths, and you will see the difference. Slowly India will see that difference. And once that wave goes, then young people will say, yeah, facilities wise, ability to support us, our family, is not an issue. Moment you realize that, then you become free to act in other ways, and then you start thinking, reading, traveling, whatever it might be, working in the social sector, working in industry, whatever. You'll work with a different mindset then. That will be the mindset in which you are mentally free, culturally and mentally free. Actually, once people understand that learning takes place when a student does the home assignment himself or herself. That is the central point of learning. Once we understand that, then this will go away. And students are interested in learning, I am assuming that. I think you people should analyze it. About, so maybe more
So why is that missing? You can say that in
I think you people should do a greater analysis rather than my trying to give an answer. You analyze that.